Do you want to learn how to do a high taper? If so, then you're in luck, because in this video I'll be teaching you the exact steps I use to achieve the cleanest results, and by the end of the video you'll see the entire process plus the results at the end. Real quick before the video starts, I'd just like to ask you all to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content and want to see more tutorials in the future. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the tutorial. So my client wants to keep his hair short, so before I start fading out the sides, I'm going to come in with my 8-guard lever open and just go with the grain, taking off less length than I would if I went against the grain. The 8-guard does a great job of taking his hair off, but his hair is very curly, so I do come in multiple times just to ensure that the length is even across the entire head. Alright, that top looks pretty even, but I am going to come in and saturate the fringe, evening it out with my shears, just matching it to the length that's already established on top. Once I grab the hair horizontally, you can see that there is an evident guide underneath the overhang, so I'm just snipping that overhang and making that fringe nice and consistent. Alright, now to smoothly transition into our clipper work, I am saturating his hair again, and I'm going to make a triangle section that perfectly divides the top and the sides. I did use a horseshoe section in my last video, but I do find that this triangle section works much better on shorter hair and allows me to connect the top while I'm fading and not afterwards, so it's just a lot more convenient and easy. So as you can see on this side, I'm just making a clear section from the recession all the way to the crown, the middle of the crown that is, and dividing the hair accordingly. What this allows me to do is completely isolate the fringe and grab the parts of the top that would be overhanging over the fade, so this just allows me to get a much cleaner result. So now to start my fade, I am going to set my bald line around the entire head. I do begin on the sides, and a good reference point for the sides is to start about where the ear ends and continue with a straight line all the way to the C-cup. And since I set my bald lines in the back around where the ear ends, this is a high taper, so I am going to go just slightly higher, about 1 to 2 centimeters above where the ear ends. Alright, boom. Now that our bald lines are set in, I am going to grab my 2-guard and debulk the back. I do like to focus on one area of the taper at once, and since I think the back is the hardest, I finish the entire fade in the back before moving on to the sides, and this just allows me to stay more clean and organized throughout the entire haircut. Now I'm just going to come in with no guard, setting my first guideline. You don't want to make this guideline too big or too small. About a ½ inch should work just fine. And if you want to achieve high quality Instagram worthy results, I can't stress this part of the process enough. Do not rush through setting your guidelines. You don't have to make them nice and detailed, but you want to make them clear so you can stay organized and clean throughout your process. Now, as you can see, I'm just closing the lever halfway and going up about halfway through this first guideline just to start clearing it out. Then I do close the lever fully to completely erase the bottom line. If you want, you can come in with your trimmer to get it nice and bald, but the clipper worked just fine for me. And now for our second guideline, I'm going to grab my 1½ guard and come in about 1½ to 2 times as high as I did with our no guard lever open. And then I do close the lever fully to begin blending down and getting rid of that bottom guideline. And now to get rid of that middle guideline, I do come in with my ½ guard fully open, flicking out. I do then close it halfway and then close it fully to get rid of that guideline even further. And now this step is optional on most hair textures, but I do come in with my 1 guard fully open just to get rid of any darkness that the ½ guard didn't get before. And now we're going to grab our 2 guard and flick out just a little bit higher. We're not trying to set any harsh lines here, just try to blend into the darkness on top. It's not going to get it fully, but we are going to come in now clipper over comb just to remove any overhanging hairs. And now to soften that transition, I am going to grab my scissor over comb and just snip any little bits of hair that I didn't get with my clipper. And then I'm gonna come in with my thinning shears and do the same thing just to soften that blend even further. And now that the rough draft of the fade is finished, I am gonna come in and detail, starting with my highest guard, which was the 2 guard, just getting rid of any darkness that is at the transition from the fade to the bulk on top. Now I'm gonna come in with my 1.5 guard, just doing the same exact thing. I'm really playing with the lever here and using the corner of my blade just to get that blend nice and smooth and target small areas that I can't get with the full blade. Same exact process here with my number 1 guard. And I do finish detailing the fade with my half guard. I check it in the mirror, it looks super duper clean, so I can come in and start fading out the side. Now the side is a much smaller area, so it's much easier to fade and detail, and we are gonna use the same process, so let's just breeze right through it. So again, we're gonna remove the bulk with our number 2 guard, and then come in, no guard, fully open, setting in our first guideline, and then fading it out halfway open, and then fully closed, just inching up in small increments, really blending that line out. Next up, we use our 1.5 guard to set in our next guideline. As you can see, that fade is starting to take a curved shape, and this is to allow the vertical bars and the lineup around the ears to stay darker while maintaining a clean fade. Again, we're beginning to blend that line out by closing our lever fully. And yet again, we're going to slap on that half guard to get rid of that guideline within. First, I'm coming in fully open, then closing it up halfway, and then closing it up fully. Now I'm just hitting any darkness within with our 1 guard fully open, and then flicking out with our number 2 to begin blending into the bulk. Now we're going to come in clipper over comb to connect the sides to the top. Retrospectively, I could have skipped this process and went straight to scissor over comb, but I'm trying to make a detailed tutorial for y'all, so now we're going to come in scissor over comb and do exactly the same thing, just connecting to the top. Now I'm softening that blend up with my thinning shear over comb. And I did go in and detail the fade off camera, but there wasn't much to do, so I'm not gonna bore you with that. We're gonna head straight into the lineups. I mean, that fade is already looking super duper clean, but these lineups are gonna really tie that taper in together. So to line up around the ear, I am coming in with my trimmers and moving in a curved shape. I'm really not trying to push him back, so I'm just getting rid of the overhang and following a line that I see underneath the hair. And now to get that line up super duper straight and connect the nape to the side, I'm just gonna press my trimmer with the full blade to make a straight line. This next step is also optional on most haircuts, but my client did request that I line up his hairline and vertical bars. So I'm just gonna make a straight line across the hairline, making sure not to push him back, and then tap those vertical bars with my trimmers. I do like to use the razor on this part of the lineup since it just gets it super crispy and removes hairs that I don't see with my naked eye, but this is all optional and up to you. Now that the haircut is done, I'm gonna remove the cape and use my trimmers to bald the bottom out completely, just removing any hairs that I didn't go over when I was fading before. And my client did request that I style his hair, so I'm just spraying his hair down with some sea salt spray and drying it with my diffuser. And to work some texture into the hair, I am gonna sprinkle some texture powder on top and style it with my hands. And goddamn, does that boy look crispy. If you enjoyed this haircut tutorial, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. And on that note, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.